documents. So it should be opening up on your screens as well. This is the Localise 2030 guide. Please tell me if you can see it. Yeah, okay, I see a thumbs up. Wonderful. Yeah, great. Yeah, it's really exciting to be here today and to be able to finally present the Localise 2030 guide to you. My name is Andreas. I work in the Sector Project Agenda 2030, Reducing Inequalities and Poverty. And let me highlight the starting point for the Localise 2030 guide. So in our sector project, we are responsible for the Implementation Initiative 2030 Agenda. And this initiative supports partner countries through strategic interventions in the transformation towards sustainable development. So it was started in 2016, and since then, 32 countries have implemented or are implementing Initiative 2030 Agenda projects with a value of, in total, 100 million euros up to date. The topics and areas of the implementation initiative projects were threefold. So first of all, it was covering strategies and policy and architecture for sustainable development, then the topic of financing for sustainable development, and accountability, meaning monitoring and review. And all of these topics are also especially reflected on a local level. And that's why the localizing area is also one of the main key areas of the implementation initiative. So having all these connections to the local implementation level and the good practices, we thought, okay, what can we do with all of this? And the aim of compiling the Localise 2030 guide was actually to draw on the hands-on practical implementation experience of our GIZ colleagues. And this localized guide now also assists or is supporting GIZ advisors in partner countries and also specialists from the sectoral department in supporting the localization of the 2030 agenda. I've seen that there are some external consultants, so there's a small disclaimer. Most, but not all links will be working for internal GIZ information that is linked in the GIZ internet, but most of it will be. So yeah, I think let's get started. This is the localized guide. I hope you can see the cursor. And there's a short how to use guide on the first page. This actually tells you how to use it. So the guide is divided into modules. They are independent from each other, and you can read the guide from top to bottom, or you can start with certain chapters that you're especially interested in. For example, on financing or monitoring and review, etc. So it's really easy now. I will show you how it will work. So you have, as I said, the external links. For example, the GIZ homepage is an external link and will look like this. And all the internal links that are not available for external persons look like this, with an arrow showing to the right. All right, and this is the content of the Localise 2030 guide. As I said, it has different modules. The first module is on the background of the 2030 agenda, and it all especially delves into what is the localization of the SDGs, and it also has a chapter on multi-level governance for localizing the 2030 agenda and key messages. Then the second module is the key module for our localized guide. It is divided into 5 chapters. The first chapter is the key steps for localizing SDGs in projects, and then the awareness raising chapter, followed by the SDG prioritization and adaptation chapter, then budgeting and financing, and monitoring and review. And these are the chapters, and all the information which is to be found here derives from the 2030 Agenda Implementation Initiative that I stated at the beginning. And then there's also a module for designing new projects. I think this will also be very helpful. And later on today, we will also show a very practical tool. My colleague Nadine will show you about drafting project indicators tool. So that we will have a look at that later on. And then the country pages, of course, we wanted to highlight our colleagues' best practices, and I will go into that as well. And then at the end of the localized guide, you will find the tools and resources all compiled at once, and a short glossary. Okay, so being an interactive PDF, it's really easy to navigate. For example, if you want to go to the background, you can click on background, or you can also click on these little icons here in the bottom half of the slide. And I will click on the background, and you will have the all of the chapters interlinked to the interactive PDF. So let me click on, for example, the implementation principles. And you will always find a short description on what it is that is in the chapter. And then you will also have more information with the external links or internal links. These are mainly internal links, but you will also find external links. So on this part of the page, you can always go back and go to the next, or you can jump back to the module. So localization. There are some great information on localization to be found here. Why does it matter? How do you integrate SDG localization with other global agendas? And of course, you can find a link to the City Works toolkit that was presented by Eva. And also the multi-level governance, as I said before. And there's also a link to another toolkit that our sectoral project set up, the Recover Forward toolkit. This is on our homepage. Okay, let's jump to the core part, advising partner countries. As I said, these are the 5 chapters. It's really easy to navigate. I will be able to present a tool from the awareness raising chapter later on in the afternoon, or right before lunch. And there's also more information on these chapters, as I said before, for example, on SDG prioritization, integration, and adaptation. And this is how you click. It's really, really easy. So if you then go to designing new projects, as I said, we'll have a session on drafting project indicators in later on that Nadine will show. And yeah, I will just encourage you to have a look at it and to browse through. And yeah, it's really easy to navigate. So the last thing that I wanted to show you from this presentation, or from the localized guide, is our best practices or good practices from our projects, from the implementation initiative, and also from a transformation fund that was funded by BMZ before. So now I also already saw some colleagues that have joined here today. For example, I saw colleagues from Georgia and from Serbia. It's really, really nice to see you here. And so let's just right-click to Georgia. So these are the information that you can find about Georgia, for example, more information on the VNR, on the SDG preparedness report, etc., and websites of the Georgian government. Here, the project is explained, and also the expected results and lessons learned, and also some more tools and products. And so these are the information that you can find from the country pages. You can also go to, for example, Mexico. So again, very similar information about the project, and really interesting to see what has been done. And you can also find some more further information. Here are the tools that are linked in the 2030 guide. For example, of course, the City Works toolkit, our Recover Forward toolkit, which is available on our homepage. But also for our GIZ colleagues, I would also highly recommend you going to the 2030 Agenda topic page, which is being managed by our FMB colleagues. And here you can also find and download the Localise 2030 guide, but also for example, the 2030 Agenda country fact sheets. These are really, really helpful. They give a brief overview about the state of the 2030 Agenda implementation in partner countries and of German development cooperation. Our sectoral project used to update them on a rolling basis every year. They are not updated each year, and they will not be updated, but there's a big compilation of almost all partner countries that you can find. Yeah, there's also for the principles of LNOB, leave no one behind. You can find a link to the LNOB tree for options tool, which was also created with the support of our sectoral project. And yeah, so I think this is the end of my short introduction to the Localise 2030 guide. And yeah, I'll encourage you to browse through it and use it as you would like. So as I highlighted before, the Recover Forward toolkit, there's this is our page. There's a short excerpt also being found here. So thank you very much, and I hand over back to Luciana.